The rats are beginning to flee the sinking Clinton ship. The director of the FBI announced today in a letter to several congressional committees that additional information has come out about the scandal, Hillary's scandal of her emails using a private unsecured server to handle heavily classified government information that probably has cost a number of people their lives. Information that the way she handled it was a clear violation of federal law, felony, multiple felonies actually. He took a dive a few months ago and said, well, she had mishandled information, she was careless, but a prosecutor really wouldn't pursue it. Nobody bought that at the time. The question is why now, 11 days, 10 days now before the election? Well, there are essentially two reasons. The first is he's been taking a lot of pressure from FBI agents, people in his agency, and the Department of Justice. There is a group, a very sizable group of federal officials who are below cabinet level, but nevertheless who have power, who have worked for the government for many years, who are extremely upset with what's been going down. You have to look at the broad picture as well as the narrow picture. They have seen for some time that the United States is effectively controlled by a largely overseas group of global banksters, as I call them, global banking cartel. They know the agenda of these people. They've seen what the bought and paid for political leaders in many nations in Europe have done. Germany alone has had at least 2.1 million Muslims virtually invaded. Most are not families, children. When the mainstream media, which is controlled by 6 corporations, all globalists owned, when mainstream media shows you pictures, they always show you pictures of family and cute kids. The reality is that about 80% of these Muslims that have been allowed to invade Europe are men, single men, military aged. They are raping women right and left. They're taking over, demanding Sharia law, just a cornucopia of things that people in Germany, in Norway, in Sweden, in France, in the United Kingdom, and so forth, just will not tolerate, but somehow are muddling through. Their own politicians have betrayed them. Now, in the United Kingdom, Brexit, the public voted overwhelmingly, about 70-some%, to exit the EU, and the driving force was the flood of refugees. Hillary, according to leaked documents from WikiLeaks, and her statement to Goldman Sachs bankers, said she is for a completely wide open border, just as her patron George Soros is. The first year of this, which could very well begin in 2017 if she were elected, could see somewhere between 25 and 50 million people invade the United States from all over Latin America, from Africa, North Africa, Arabia, Afghanistan, and so forth. In many cases, the nations would be chartering ships and planes to bring their excess population over here. That would destroy the United States, completely destroy the United States in a year. People in powerful positions in the United States government, in the intelligence agencies, in the law enforcement agencies, and in the Department of Defense know what's happening. They're very upset about it, and they want it to stop. So there's been a lot of pressure on the director of the FBI. That's one thing. By the way, there's a really good story going around, and I think it's true, that Donald Trump really didn't want to run for president. But a group of senior American generals and admirals visited him and asked him to run. And they laid out some scenarios that they think are going down. And without him, without somebody reasonable in the White House, the globalists would be literally destroying this country. And he agreed to run. Now they've done everything. They've thrown everything, including the kitchen sink at the man. But yet, this is the second reason I'm about to speak of why the director of the FBI, I believe, has suddenly jumped ship. And in effect, he's voting for Trump by doing his job, which he should have done months ago, enforcing the law. We have a phenomenon that has probably never happened before in this country. There are a number of states. I live in Indiana. There are a number of states, including my own, that are allowing early voting. A friend of mine has tried 3 times to vote. The lines were so incredibly long. He said, I don't have the time. I can't be here for 3 hours. In various states, such as Florida, Texas, Wisconsin, early totals, sometimes official, sometimes taken from poll watchers, are strongly indicating that this is a landslide for Donald Trump. These people are coming out to vote, and they're coming out to vote early. They don't want to take a chance on their vote not being counted. They're coming out early, and they're voting for Donald Trump. Michael Moore said, I have to watch my language, but if Trump wins, it would be the biggest FU by the American electorate to the establishment in history. I think he's right. We have 105 million people without work of adult working age in this country. We have more men out of work than in the Great Depression. And of course, a great many people are working part-time, low-end jobs. The economy is in the crapper, has been for some time. People are upset. People tend to vote their pocketbooks. But moreover, people are becoming aware that the globalists seem to want to drive us into a war with Russia, the one nation on earth that has more nuclear weapons than we do. Over Syria, come on, give me a break. I don't think I want to die because the globalists and Benjamin Netanyahu want to overthrow Assad. His own people elected him twice in independently verified as democratic and free elections. In any case, it's not worth destroying the United States of America and a couple 100 million Americans dying over. And when you have such a landslide, you can't steal it. I mean, yes, you can turn in false figures, but when people see the numbers turning out and they talk to people in line, they talk to their neighbors, they talk to their friends, they know that there's a landslide. And you can't steal it in that case without virtually a civil war. And there are a lot of people in the government that are not prepared to allow that to happen. And the director of the FBI, he can read tea leaves as well as the best of them in Washington. After all, he's got the entire FBI feeding him information. He knows darn good and well what's happening. And he's decided to do his job to renew the investigation into Hillary. That act alone, if there wasn't already a landslide, which there is, would no doubt have won the election for Donald Trump. It would simply add to the landslide. There is no way on earth Hillary is going to win this election. Hundreds at the most people show up for rallies. Donald Trump routinely, sometimes 2 or 3 times a day, gets 10, 20, and 30,000 people show up at his rallies. Tim Kaine, Hillary's vice presidential running mate, 2 days ago, had 300 people show up. I'm sorry, I added 10 of that. 30 people show up at a rally in Florida. His police and security detail probably was greater than that. Yesterday, he canceled another appearance in Florida. It's kind of embarrassing when nobody shows up. On the other hand, his opponent for vice president, Mike Pence, has thousands and thousands of people showing up. The landslide is clear. It's happening right now because we've already begun voting in a number of states. It's very apparent to anybody with eyes. Hillary is not going to win. Hillary probably is going to go to prison. And now the next question is, what will the Obama administration do? Can they pull a rabbit out of their hat? Can they create some sort of crisis, such as a war with Russia? It's telling that in Aleppo, the Russians have not resumed bombing. And in fact, the globalist supplied forces that are attacking, trying to break through the Syrian army encirclement of eastern Aleppo, have the Russian commanders in the field asked Putin to allow them to resume Russian Air Force airstrikes, and he declined. He's doing everything he can to avoid being baited into a trap. There are, I'm sure, people in our military who are also working to avoid World War III, as unfortunately there are some who are globalist stooges who are working for just the opposite. I'd say right now it looks like Donald Trump is not only going to win, he's going to win by a landslide. And there's a lot of people, the Clintons, the Bushes, the Obamas, and many of their senior people who are now very concerned. As Hillary said recently in one of her off-air little rants, that SOB Trump is going to hang us all. And they're very, very worried. When asked if President Obama was planning on leaving the country if Trump won, his spokesperson declined to answer. I don't know that that's going to happen, but I think deals will be made. But I think the handwriting is on the wall now. And the rats are literally jumping ship because it's going down. It's Tim Alexander, Earl of Stirling. God bless.